At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. That have to work week in the rearview mirror. Hope you're having a good one. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Matthew Brune coming up in 15 minutes. LSU and Kentucky from the PMAC, 5 hours from right now. It's a huge one, really, for both teams. We'll talk about it coming up in 15 minutes. It's What If Wednesday. Be sure to get those into the Bayou 4 chat or hit me up on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. Really excited to end this hour with my guy, Brandon Taylor. Former Tiger safety, number 18, LSU Sports Radio Network. Also had a Liz Frank injury. BT had a Liz Frank injury at the end of 2010. You know what that 2011 season looked like. He mapped out his recovery a little bit earlier for me and kind of showed what that looks like. We know that Sam Levitt had the injuries about the same time in the calendar, so we'll talk to Brandon Taylor about what he remembers about that recovery from Liz Frank surgery and about this LSU team in the transfer portal coming up at 1:45. Second hour, ESPN ranked the NFL rookie classes. Where do the Saints come in? I'll tell you, it's quite high. J.D. Bickell at 2:15 talking national championship game, and then we will have a little bit of a portal look for LSU at 2:30. So lots and lots and lots to do. Lock it in. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
5 days ago, LSU didn't have a quarterback. Not one quarterback. Not like they didn't have a great quarterback or they didn't have a returning quarterback. They didn't have any quarterbacks on scholarship 5 days ago. It's a daunting spot, and it's a spot we knew they were going to be in. And you know what they were trying to do. They were trying to shop at the very top of the portal. From the guys that were in it, you went after Sorsby, you went after Levitt. You were pivoting elsewhere. Perhaps Damon Williams is going to jump in. You're keeping a monitor on Trinidad Chambliss. We know DJ Lagway goes in the portal, Bo Prabula. Like, you're looking at the guys from the Power Five and trying to get your guy. But you understand that you just can't get one. One doesn't get it done. You have to get three. And that's not a spot I can recall LSU having been in. This is an era where quarterbacks transfer. And going to get one is a very doable thing. You can do that almost every year. When you have the NIL pocketbooks, the brand that LSU does, the head coach now that they have, Miami's doing this every year. Okay? You can go get one. But three's hard. And as of an hour ago, LSU's got three. You went and got Sam Levitt. He's your guy. He's your starter from Arizona State. Proven Power 5, Big 12 freshman newcomer of the year, playoff quarterback, massive production, big skill set. You go get Landon Clark from Elon to add depth. Don't think he was under any sort of guise that it was anything more than that. If he needs to play, they'll ask him to play. He's played a lot of football. But he's a depth piece. And then today, you complete the trifecta with the addition of Husan Longstreet from Southern Cal. This is an incredible job by Lane Kiffin. I am being cautious in this new era of college football with going over the top on transfers. Everybody is adding pieces to their roster around the SEC, around the country, and every fan base is going, this is awesome. This team is stacked. This team is loaded. Look at how awesome this is. This guy's going to be fantastic. This guy was a 5-star. This guy started at that school. This is going to be awesome. That's what we're all getting swept up in. And we did this in Baton Rouge last year, and the team wasn't great. And I'm trying to take a cautious approach, and that's why I told you earlier this week, I'm uncomfortable with where the offensive line is, and I think the defensive line has a bunch of what I would call league average pieces. I'm not elated every single time something pops up on the screen that LSU got a player. I'm trying to assess it a little bit more cautiously than we have in the past. Am I always right? No. But am I trying to be a little bit more cautious? Yes. I am not being cautious about quarterback. This is as good as you can do it. Does it mean Levitt's going to recover and be the same player he was? Does it mean Husan Longstreet's going to live up to his 5-star name? It doesn't mean that quarterbacks from Elon are going to immediately be Trinidad Shambles. But in the situation LSU was in 1 week ago, to get Sam Levitt, to get Husan Longstreet, and to get Landon Clark, to actually create a little bit of depth in your quarterback room is wildly impressive. Because at that position, one guy plays. One guy plays. And you can add 9 portal wide receivers all you want. You can get 4 of them on the field at once. You can get 6 of them involved in a game plan. That's fine. But quarterback's different. These guys hop in the portal. They want cash. They want playing time so they can go play and earn more cash. That's the general consensus among these quarterbacks. Not everyone's wired exactly the same, but that's the general consensus among these quarterbacks. And so going to get 3 of them is a daunting task. And I am not here telling you that this sets LSU up at quarterback for 2027 and 2028. That's a ludicrous way to think in this day and age. It's ludicrous to think that way. It's not impossible. I'm just talking about next year's team. I'm talking about 2026. Because look, you're trying to set up depth. In the days where you've got a quarterback room that involves 3 former 4-star recruits that are staggered senior, sophomore, freshman, they're over. Those guys are leaving. They're not going to be here. So you've got to do everything you can to restock the shelves at that position year over year. Look at these examples I just pulled off the top of my head just in the Southeastern Conference in the last 2 years where you needed a little bit of depth at quarterback. Go back to 2024, not 2025, 2024. Quinn Ewers got hurt for a couple of weeks. Arch Manning had to come in and play. Carson Beck got hurt in the playoffs. They needed Gunnar Stockton. Graham Mertz was hurt all year for Florida. DJ Lagway got hurt as well in that Georgia game. They flip-flopped back and forth, trading off injuries. Blake Shapen went out for the year. They had to put Michael Van Buren in at Mississippi State. Lenora Sellers goes out against LSU. They've got nowhere to turn in that game. They go to Robbie Ashford. That ain't going to get it done. This year, Garrett Nussmeier goes out for the year. Lenora Sellers had a concussion against Vanderbilt. Got the floor wiped. South Carolina. Blake Shapen had to come out for some time. Camario Taylor went in. Zach Calzada got hurt in September for Kentucky, and they had to make a change. Quarterback injuries happen, and it's really hard to create depth, and LSU has made that happen. I'm not here to tell you how great it is, but the pedigree is as good as you can possibly do. This is not me talking. This is a professional scout talking. Again, not me. That's not why I'm here. This is a professional scout, Charles Power, from the On3 Rivals Network, talking about Husan Longstreet. You tell me what this sounds like. Top arm talent with arguably the strongest arm in the 2025 cycle. Has an absolute flamethrower attached to his right arm. Owns a compact build, a shade under 6'1", 195 pounds. Biggest hands among the players in this cycle. His passes have considerable velocity. Throws with a whippy three-quarter to sidearm delivery. Plays in an up-tempo offense at the offensive level that utilizes RPOs. Makes eye-popping downfield throws. Can stick the ball in covered areas. Shows the ability to go through reads. A twitchy mover who also presents a run threat on designed runs and scrambles and makes defenders miss in space. That's not me talking. That's Charles Power. Massive arm, runs up-tempo RPO offense in California, poses a run threat, makes defenders miss in space. I don't know if I could come up with a description that looks better than Lane Kiffin's offense. I really don't. Like, you could take Husan Longstreet's name off of that and just say, okay, write out a dialogue on what you think a Lane Kiffin quarterback should look like. Arm talent, make all the throws, quick release, up-tempo, RPO, can run, make guys miss. I don't know what else you're looking for. Now, the good news for Husan Longstreet is he's going to get to take a ton of reps in the spring. He's also going into his redshirt freshman season. He played 4 games at Southern Cal last year. And look, it's mop-up duty. I'm not going to read a lot into it. But he did a nice job. He was 13 of 15, 103 yards, threw a touchdown, didn't throw a pick, carried the ball 11 times, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty productive. It's mop-up time. Again, I'm not here to harp on 15 passes and 11 runs. but it's a big talent. It's a guy that Lincoln Riley identified. I think he's got a pretty good idea of guys that can play the position. And you bring him in as your insurance policy in an era where your insurance policies generally are awful. This one's really good. So now that risk that you had presented with Sam Leavitt when you brought him in, what's the Liz Frank injury going to look like? What's the recovery time? Is he going to be the same quarterback? That risk still exists, but you have mitigated it by going out and getting a former 5-star prospect with playing experience at USC that's okay with coming in, taking reps in the spring, learning, and potentially sitting in the fall. And you've got a guy you can turn to that's not some junior college quarterback, not somebody from a very much lower level. Not everyone's Trinidad Chambliss. I've told you that all week. That is a rare, rare case. Your odds of hitting on Trinidad Chambliss are minuscule. Your odds of hitting on a former 5-star who played some at USC under Lincoln Riley, they're not 100%, but they're decent for a backup quarterback in this era. So for Lane Kiffin to make this happen, it is a home freaking run. I've got my doubts about some of the position groups on this team, namely the 2 lines of scrimmage. Whether you share those doubts or not, doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, I'm not over the moon with everything that's gone on in the last 3 weeks. Quarterback, if you want to try to punch holes in this one, brother, I don't know what you're looking at. This is as good as you can do given the circumstances. Given the circumstances of 0 scholarship quarterbacks 5 days ago, to add what some call the number 1 player in the portal, a former 5-star with a lot of eligibility and some playing time, and then a depth piece who is a starting quarterback at a lower level who's okay being the 3rd string, you cannot do any better than that. Now, you put him out there with those skill position players that you've brought in, with this system that is produced year after year after year after year. I feel good about where LSU's offense is, assuming they can shore up offensive line with like 2 more guys. Like 2 more guys. And you feel good about the offense. And I think everybody feels pretty good about where they are on defense. We knew this would be a transformative 2 weeks. We knew it would be a nonstop 2 weeks. We knew it would be a high-powered 2 weeks. It'd be a Twitter-filled 2 weeks. It's been that. This is a home run for LSU to make these 3 quarterbacks fit over a 4-day span. Hat tip to Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss Jr., Billy Glasscock, everybody over there at LSU. You hadn't won a single game in 2026, but this is a heck of an effort to put together that position group at this point. Amazing work for LSU. That's our opening drive. It is brought to you by Fabry Chevrolet GMC. I'll tell you about them here coming up. LSU, Kentucky in the PMAC tonight. I got a preview at LouisianaSports.net. Let's talk to Matthew Brune about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Speaking of Fabry Chevrolet GMC, they bring you our opening drive every single day, and they've got an incredible inventory online every single day at FabryChevrolet.com. You can also make the short drive up to St. Francisville, Highway 51 there in St. Francisville, under new ownership. Probably driven by that dealership many, many times if you spend a lot of time up there in the Felicianas, up in Point Capee area. Now it's under new ownership. Since October 1st, it's been the folks over at Fabry Chevrolet. They've been in our community for 35 years. You know that family. You know their reputation. And know what you're going to get when you go there. Incredible buying experience, service after the sale, wonderful customer service. It's all there from the Fabry family. And now they've got that Chevrolet GMC brand behind them. Looking for a Tahoe? Those are really hot. New year, new car. How about a Chevy Tahoe? They've got them. You can check it out online at FabryChevrolet.com. Maybe you're looking for a GMC, a Denali, or a Yukon. Those are hot as well. Want to get into those SUVs? Check them out online at FabryChevrolet.com. It's folks at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. The entire inventory is right there at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Want to be sure you're in your pool by the time spring rolls around. Check them out at builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. Matthew Brune covers LSU for the Bengal Tiger, part of the team over there at On 3. Joins us now here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline for LSU in Kentucky tonight, 6 o'clock. Matthew, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Hunt. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Which of these coaches you think had a more uncomfortable night of sleep last night with the reality of how big this one is for both Kentucky and LSU?
Man, that's a good question. Because McMahon obviously has a lot of pressure here. That means to get in this week with Kentucky, Missouri, to get back on track, whether Thomas plays or not. Pope, however, coaches at Kentucky, and they might burn his house down if they lose. So who knows at this point.
It's a tough scene up there in Lexington right now, although they did play well, especially in the second half back on Saturday. Let's talk LSU first. Pretty non-committal on Deon Thomas yesterday, but my read on that was not overly positive. What has LSU been missing without him in the lineup?
Yeah, I agree in terms of it not being overly positive. I wrote through yesterday. I talked to just some people around the program, and I didn't get the feeling that this was going to be a realistic game for him to come back. Obviously, the hope would then be Missouri. We'll see how that works out with a few more days. But without him, it's just all been a mess. I mean, everything we talked about this team in the non-conference was true, and I think it was accurate, but all of it was predicated off of Deon Thomas's performances. Even when he wasn't scoring a ton of points, even when his stat line just was 12-5, it's still everybody else had their role and they were comfortable in their role. Markel Sutton and Mike Nwoko are prime examples of guys that played perfectly off of him, knew how to attack, knew what their role in the offense was. Without Thomas, you see a lot of just role uncertainty and just in general a lack of confidence, I'd say, from all these other guys here. Max McKinnon got it going a little bit, but overall, you look at Nwoko, you look at Sutton, two guys that were huge in the non-conference, but a lot of their game is based off of Thomas.
Yeah, Nwoku, 6 points in each of the last two games. He had been a top 5 field goal guy in the Southeastern Conference and had routinely been scoring 16, 18, 22 points, albeit against lesser competition. I mean, is there reason to believe he can give you more than the 6 points without Thomas, or is he completely dependent on catching lobs and catching weak side rebounds that go back up?
Yeah, I do think, he had a good game against A&M in the first game of SEC play. I think that they're going to try to get him the ball in the post. They're going to try to manufacture some easy touches for him. He's still really efficient in terms of his post hooks and what he can do with his back to the basket. But like you said, the problem is he just doesn't get those easy ones going to the rim where he can catch, dunk, or catch an alley-oop and finish. And they don't have as much pressure on the rim because of that. But I do think that will be a key for them in this game and really in any game Thomas doesn't play in, is getting him post touches. But then the next problem with that is the lack of shooting allows teams to really be aggressive on him in the post, and that's what we've seen the past couple of games. So we'll see how it works out, but I do think that's going to be an emphasis.
Perimeter defense is a question that we've asked a lot recently. How do you feel LSU matches up with Kentucky tonight, being able to keep those wings out of the paint?
I do think it's going to be tough. I think that's probably been the most disappointing part of the past. Even go further back than conference play, really the past 3 or 4 weeks has been the perimeter defense. I remember during the first game of the season, I was like, this team just doesn't get into opposing guards. They don't make teams uncomfortable. They're currently 309th in turnover percentage defense, so they're not turning people over. That's where you get the Christian Anderson for Texas Tech going off. That's where you get South Carolina starting 10 of 13 from 3. Vanderbilt's going 52 in the first half. So it's a huge concern, especially with kind of the pace that Kentucky plays with. And we know Pope likes to shoot threes. And they're coming off a game against Mississippi State where they played extremely well offensively. So you're going to have to contain Otega away, preseason, player of the year in the conference. They are going to be, I believe, without Jalen Lowe once again. And overall, they're still very talented, but it's going to be up to LSU to defend the best that they have this conference season.
Yeah, I think Lowe's done with his third shoulder injury that he's going to get looked at and fixed. So I don't think they'll have him for the foreseeable future, potentially for the rest of the year. So 2 teams without their point guards tonight. For LSU, Rashad King has had an increased role with Deon Thomas being down. Obviously, Jalen Reese as well. What have you seen from those two?
Yeah, Jalen Reese I think has performed exactly how I would have expected him to perform in this situation. Just like any sport. I mean, you put in a freshman quarterback, you put in a freshman left tackle, you put in a freshman pitcher. Like, it's just, you're going to take the ups and the downs. And I think he's progressed, but asking him to play 35 plus minutes in an SEC game is just a lot for him and really for any freshman. I mean, heck, Tennessee has the number 4 freshman in the country and Nate Ament, and he's struggling. I mean, they go down the list, but I think he's improved. He'll have to have a good game. He'll have to just make some open shots and not turn it over. And then Rashad King, I really think, is the key here without Thomas. Not to say that he supplants Thomas in terms of creation, but just his 3-and-D ability. They really need him to be sharp. They need his athleticism on the perimeter. Because if not, then they kind of get thin over there and they have to go to Mozzie Mosley and some PJ Carter and stuff like that. So hopefully King has a good game, and we'll see how that goes.
Let's play a hypothetical. What if LSU wins tonight? Like, what does that mean for them moving into Saturday, even with considering potentially Thomas's availability, if we're talking 3 days down the road?
It would be huge. It would be huge to win this game. Missouri at home is a tough game with or without Thomas. They need to win. If Thomas doesn't play in these 2 games, they need to win at least one of them just to keep some sort of hope available that they can make a run in the back half here. I do, if you lose both of these, you got the next 2 games are Florida and Arkansas, both on the road. It's going to be very difficult, even with Thomas. So you need to win at least one of these 2. Going into the past week, I was hoping that Thomas would be back for this Kentucky game. You win these 2, and you look better going into the rest of the season. But this would be a huge win. I really think, it's almost a must-win. At least this and the Missouri game, they have to show some life here. If not, they could be staring at the barrel of 0-7, and that would pretty much be a wrap.
That would be a wrap. 0-7 is not something they can come back from. Not with this talent in this league. So hopefully get one of these next 2. Do you think they beat Kentucky tonight in the BMAC?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't believe that I can't pick them to win any game that Thomas isn't playing.
Yeah.
Just flat out. If Thomas was playing at this point, I think they could have beat A&M. I think they would have beat South Carolina. But again, it's all ifs, ands, or buts. This McMahon era has been littered with that. I mean, Jalen Cook 2 years ago, Jalen Reed and Tyrell Ward last year, and now Thomas. So it's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes.
It is. It's a really difficult league to compete in. This is a tough job, and it's just been bad break after bad break. We'll see LSU and Kentucky tonight, 6 o'clock from the PMAC. Last question, Matthew. Has Kim Mulkey's team found anything here over the last two games and a nice win on Sunday against the top 5 Texas team?
Yeah, I do think they found something. I think they found their defense. I think that they've just kind of learned what they are. And my biggest gripe with the schedule was not the fact that they were playing bad teams for 2 months. It was the fact that they didn't even know what they were good and bad at for 2 months. And so when you get your teeth kicked in a couple times, you lose a couple of games in conference play, they realized what they needed to work on. They went to work on them. They come back and they beat Texas. They're still a very, very talented team, and they're going to be competing, for Elite 8, Final Fours again in March.
He's Matthew Brune. You can find him the On3 Network, part of the Bengal Tiger, with our guys Shay Dixon, Bryce Kuhn over there. So we'll see you in the PMAC tonight, man.
Yeah, see you then, Hunt.
Matthew Brune with On3. This is going to be kind of our basketball segment for the day. I'm going to spend a lot more time on football moving forward, but LSU's playing Kentucky in a monster game, so I wanted to get a little bit of a conversation in with Matthew on that. I wrote a preview up at LouisianaSports.net. It's a huge game for both teams. If Kentucky loses this game, they're just in big trouble. They've already lost to Missouri at home. They would have lost to LSU. And those are 2 of the lesser teams in the league right now. And you still got to play Tennessee twice, and you still got to play Vanderbilt twice, and you still got to play Florida, and you still got to go to Arkansas. And they didn't create any margin for error in the non-conference because they went 9-6. They lost every consequential game they had. The one thing I'm looking at with this Kentucky team, and I wrote about this, they have not won a single close game this season. Not one. Their average margin of victory, they're 10-6. Their average margin of victory is 31.1 points per game. They have not won a game that's been decided by less than 12 points. All their wins are by 12 plus. 48, 47, 42, 50, 36, 12, 12, 14, 24. They have not been dragged into deep water and come up. And maybe they're figuring themselves out because it's a new roster with some transfers, and maybe they're just not that good. I don't know. But when they've gotten into close games, they have lost. They are 1-4 away from Rupp. And look, they've been shellacked a couple times. Michigan State hammered them. Gonzaga beat them by 35 in Nashville. Bama beat them by 15. Like, it's not a Cal superpower. They got talent. You'll see it on the floor tonight. Otega Owe is a great driver, super athlete, can knock down threes. He's a good player. Denzel Aberdeen, 6'5", wing, like, good player. Leads the team in assists per game. Shoots a three okay. But they got Malachi Moreno down there on the block, 7-foot freshman who was a McDonald's All-American, but Nwoku's got 3 years on him. More physical than him. Like, I'm with Brune. I can't pick LSU to win basketball games in this conference without Deion Thomas. But you saw Texas A&M last night. Texas A&M went on the road to a good Tennessee team and played them in a triple overtime. A&M's pretty good. That was their first league loss. And LSU went to College Station without DJ Thomas, and they were right in that game with 2 minutes left, and the freshman point guard who wasn't even supposed to be out there turned it over twice. They're not devoid of talent. They're not awful. But they are on the brink. And tonight's their chance. If you're going out to the PMAC, get there a little early. It's going to be crazy traffic for those 6 o'clock games, and see if they can get a win. If they can win tonight, you keep the lights on. You can potentially get Deion Thomas back. You might be able to beat Missouri at home. You win these next 2 games, you're back. You're okay. You're okay if you win these next 2 games. Lose tonight, I will slap the must-win on Saturday's game. I don't do it very often. I will do it. And if you lose the next 2, as we talked about, it's over. So here we are, LSU and Kentucky tonight. Pair of flawed teams. Neither one has their point guard. A couple of coaches who are feeling a little pressure. There's a lot on the line tonight for a mid-January game between teams that are combined 1-5 in the league. I'm excited to go watch it. We'll see what happens. LSU and Kentucky tonight at 6 o'clock. All right, we'll come back with What If Wednesday. Brandon Taylor in about 12 minutes. BT had Liz Frank surgery. What can we expect the next 8-10 months to be like for Sam Levitt? We'll talk to BT about it coming up a little bit later. What If Wednesday next?
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Marucci, it's almost baseball time. Got an email yesterday. Jay Johnson's going to meet with the media next Friday. That's exciting stuff. That means baseball, softball coming up all over the place, including here in the capital city. If you want to do a little team building for your youth baseball or softball team, why not take them to go see where the official bat of Major League Baseball is produced? It's right here in Baton Rouge at Marucci. Why not take them into the cages there at Marucci? They can knock a few balls around. Get ready, get ramped up for that spring season. Go to MarucciSports.com, click on Campus Tour. Go check it out, whether you're a group, team, class, just an individual that wants to go see it. You can do that over at Marucci Sports, over at MarucciSports.com. It's such a cool story, such an awesome concept, and such a shining star here in our city to have the official bat of Major League Baseball made right here. Go see them over at Marucci. They're online at MarucciSports.com, MarucciSports.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Shout out to the folks at Oxner. Got your Eat Fit alcohol free for 40 challenge. Registration is open, cranked up at the beginning of January. If you're looking for a 40-day reset to kind of help you sleep better, boost your energy, maybe feel your best, check it out. Like, it's not about giving anything up forever. It's just seeing how your body may respond when you take a break from alcohol, maybe let it recharge. When you sign up for that alcohol-free for 40 challenge, you get access to pre- and post-challenge metrics like body composition, blood pressure, and some optional labs. You can actually see the actual data that shows what changes your body makes over the course of 40 days. People that have done that alcohol-free for 40 challenge report clearer skin, more focus, brighter mood, some better sleep. And that usually happens within the first couple of weeks. So Oxner Eat Fit supports you. Zero-proof drink ideas, nutrition tips, a community of people all taking on the challenge together. Registration is open, so whether you want to join it as an official event or maybe just take the challenge from home, it's your chance to reset and feel the difference. So learn more over at alcoholfreefor40.com. That's alcoholfreefor40.com. Thanks to our friends over at Oxner. All right, we'll talk to Brandon Taylor coming up here in about 10 minutes. BT went through a Liz Frank injury, had it repaired, had to go through the rehab, came back from that 2010 injury, and y'all know what happened in 2011 was a pretty special season for LSU, so we'll talk to BT from the LSU Sports Radio Network coming up here in 10 minutes. Right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, so what if you spend an hour long talking about baseball in the middle of football transfer portal season?
That one came in via Twitter. I saw it. I chuckled. Here's the deal. If I start talking about baseball for an hour right now, we will run out of things to say by early February. There's just not a month's worth of content on that team. Now, they're going to start practicing, and I'll be out there, and I'll bring that to you as it comes. But, I can go through you position by position right now, and then that content, it's not going to change 2 weeks from now. Just is what it is. So, Jay Johnson will meet with the media coming up next Friday. They'll have some scrimmages starting next Friday. We'll see how they stack the pitchers on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in those scrimmages in the weeks leading up to it, and that'll give you an idea of what the roles look like for that first week, and we know that those will change and all that. And look, I love it. I love baseball. We know Muso's got the podcast up and running, and I'm not going to ignore it when they start practicing. But right now, we'd run out of ammunition if we started firing them off right now. That's just the way it goes. And one thing I like to pay attention to, Jay Johnson is incredibly gracious with his time. I guarantee you he'll go on with some of the podcasts on YouTube that cover college baseball. I guarantee you he'll go on with Flynn and Hester. I'm sure Matt will reach out and have him on. You will hear from Jay Johnson a lot, and he'll hit those high talking points. He'll speak at the first pitch banquet and all that. And there will be 4 or 5 different things that he says every time he does that. And I pay attention to all that because I listen to everything that he says and take all that content in. It gets old the 5th time you hear it. And so my goal is for you to not have to hear things 5 times. So we're not going to start getting into them right now on January the 14th. There's plenty happening in football, and I'm going to pay attention to basketball as long as they're fairly relevant. And I would contend right now they are, but I've told you all week, you could be 4 days from real trouble. So we'll see.
Oh, we're going to see tonight. So what if Indiana beats Miami by 30?
I know what the narrative's going to be. You're going to see the graphics. You're going to see 2019 LSU. You're going to see all that. I just don't buy it. I'm just not here for it. I think it's a completely different era where nobody's got depth. I think that the teams that Indiana has played are not nearly as good as some of the teams that LSU played. And I don't think the star power is even close. I don't think the statistics are even close. So I'm just not here to hear it. I realize that may make me elitist. I realize my inherent bias on that. But if you want to line up those Indiana guys against our LSU guys, and the thing is, people are like, well, you can't really just go off draftability and what they do in the NFL. This is a college team. And on its face, that is correct. You can't. But they're not going to go play each other. I can't teleport and time travel the 2019 team in here to go play them in Miami. So the only thing we have is statistics and honors and accolades and what these players ultimately became. And so do I think Indiana's played anybody as good as that Bama team from 2019? I don't. I don't think they played anybody good as Clemson from 2019. So that's what I think about it.
I ain't gonna lie. I kind of like how LSU's become that 2019 LSU team has become the standard of what a good team what it's supposed to look like. I kind of like that because it's y'all, it's just you're trying to match up, but you're not there. So I kind of like that.
I appreciate those who suggest that LSU's defense was not good in 2019.
Yeah,
I just disagree vehemently.
Yeah,
they could not tackle Vanderbilt well enough, and they couldn't tackle John Rice Plumlee. Point made. They gave up too many points in those games. But by the end of that thing, and then if you look at the guys from that team that went on to be studs in the NFL, it's a long list. That defense was good. By the time they got to Tua, and which, by the way, Bama had 2 busted plays for touchdowns and a punt return touchdown.
Devontae Smith.
Then they got to Georgia. They got to Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts and CeeDee Lamb and all those guys and put them in a locker. And they had Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins and Travis Etienne. that defense was plenty good. So I'm just not going to listen to the rhetoric. I don't care if they beat Miami by 30. Miami has a bad quarterback and is one-dimensional. So we'll see.
Whoa. He beat Ole Miss. Remember, we said
he
respect
Shout
that.
out Carson.
Yes, I'm about to
Shout
say.
out. Thank you. But you're not that great.
I'm about to say, man, he did what needed to be done. So what if you had an NFL Rookie of the Year vote?
Am I just way off base if I think Travion Henderson has a good case?
I'm not a Shuck guy with the NFL Rookie of the Year because he didn't beat Atlanta. If he would have beat Atlanta, I could have that
Travion
discussion.
Henderson, 911 yards and 9 touchdowns for a really good New England team. Like, Shuck was great, but it was half a season.
Yeah.
I like Travion Henderson's case. I think I like it better than Tenero McMillan's case.
No, I do. See, McMillan's kind of the chalky pick, and I hate that's where I'm at with the chalky picks because only reason he's got these numbers is because he played all year long. Now, if Henderson was a starter because he was splitting time with Steve, well, even he splitting time, he was like in the doghouse for a lot of the beginning of the year. So I like Henderson for sure. I just can't do the Shuck thing because it's not enough games played. But if he beat the Falcons, we can have the discussion. So what if Bryson leaves Live?
I think it dies. I think he's the linchpin. I mean, I just don't think you're gonna Rom. And I think Bryson is like, you can't run Lib through Cam Smith, Mark Leishman, Phil Mickelson at 53. It doesn't work. Like if you don't have Bryson, it's just like the Rom show. And like I think Rom's gonna try to come back even though he was late, so he's got another year on his contract. Like I certainly hope it happens. I don't know that I have confidence it'll happen. Brooks always knew that Liv was a complete joke. So I thought there was a decent chance that could happen. Bryson, I'm less confident in. But his answer at the Liv thing, whatever it was, where they were all answering questions yesterday, where they're like, what do you think? He's like, well, I'm under contract this year and then we'll see. That doesn't sound to me like a guy who's really fired up to re-up with a joke of a golf league. So I'm hopeful that Bryson leaves, the thing folds, and everyone associated with it considers themselves a massive failure. That's my hope.
Well, you might be coming towards that, man. Just keep speaking into existence. So that's it for What If Wednesday.
All right, that is What If Wednesday. Sam Levitt, probably LSU's quarterback next year. Likely LSU's quarterback next year. Liz Frank injury, end of October. Brandon Taylor had the same deal happen in 2010. He's going to tell his story, how that worked out. Close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing. Baton Rouge based, but they can service the entire state of Louisiana. And they are so proud to offer, as of January 1st, a lifetime workmanship warranty on their roofs. Lifetime workmanship warranty. A big roof is a big decision. And a lot of times you don't know whether or not you need one. Well, the folks at Lifetime Roofing, they care. They're not just here to make a sale. They're not just here, hey, well, let's throw another roof on it. Give us your money. No, they'll go up there and they'll inspect that roof. That part's free. If you need a new roof, they will tell you you need a new roof. If you just need a tune-up, you just need to fortify things, they'll do that. Maybe it's just a quick repair, and they can handle that as well. It's not just an automatic new roof. If you need one, they can do it, but maybe you don't. But that lifetime workmanship warranty is such a separator. It's such a difference maker and such an incredible offer from the folks at Lifetime Roofing. Whether you're dealing with an insurance claim or whether you're dealing with just buying a roof retail, they can help you with financing 0% up to 18 months. That includes financing a deductible if you need to. It's Lifetime Roofing, Baton Rouge base, wonderful growing office here in Baton Rouge off College Drive. Happy to help you out. And don't forget that lifetime workmanship warranty. It's Lifetime Roofing. You can find them online, lifetimeroofingla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Renaissance Homes and Pools brings you our Wednesday shows, built by Renaissance.com, built by Renaissance.com. Let's go out to Jim's Firearms Hotline. A guy with the LSU Sports Radio Network, former Tigers safety, number 18, Brandon Taylor, good enough to give us some time. BT, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing good, Hunt. Been a long time, man. I ain't seen you since last year.
It's been a little bit. It has been since last year, now that we think about it. 16 days to be exact. I want to talk Liz Frank. LSU signed Sam Levitt as its quarterback. He got hurt in October, had that surgery right around Halloween. And now the question is when he can return. We know that you dealt with that issue at the end of 2010. So kind of start us off in that timeline. When did you get hurt, surgery, and kind of what that next 6-8 months was like?
So I got hurt. That was the beginning of the second quarter, November 5th against Alabama. I went to plant. I remember the play very vividly, covering Marquise Mays on the out route, and I went to plant, and my cleat, the bottom of my cleat snapped in half, and so did my foot. And I tore my Liz Frank, and it was something an injury that I've never heard of, but I knew previously after I went in the locker room talking with Dr. Bankston and Jack Marucci that Matt Malk had that injury before, and that it was something that I could potentially come back from pretty fast if I had the surgery and rehab very well. But those next 6 to 8 months, it was very tough for me because Patrick Peterson, he left the junior year and stuff like that, and then I didn't know when I would be able to come back off of that injury. But it was just a grooming process as far as I went into it mentally as strong as I could, and then coming out on the back end, I became a better player because of it, because of I had time to sit down and actually watch more film and learn the safety position even better. And I think Sam Levitt would do the same thing as far as that's one of his tools as far as being a runner with his feet. But I think in this time he'll be able to watch film and work on throwing mechanics and things like that and become a better passer more than a runner.
So obviously you miss spring football. As you mentioned, you're watching a lot of tape, but when are you feel like you're able to get out there and maybe start jogging a little bit, maybe start running a little bit and then change direction? Like, what was the spring like?
Oh, so I had my surgery that was November 15th. So I wore a boot. I stayed in the boot for 3 months.
Okay.
Just for precaution and everything, but I was able to run sprints at the last week of full quarter drills. So our full quarter would go into beginning of February. We had like 21 days of full quarter. So that first week in February, I was running sprints full speed, but I was still timid as far as like stopping, no lateral movements or anything like that. But the one thing that me and Jack Marucci actually talked about this morning, like we came up with my whole game plan as far as like what I did as far as rehabs to dates and everything. I would run in a swimming pool with an underwater treadmill after every workout for like 20 to 30 minutes. And bro, when I tell you that was the most humbling, I have nightmares to this day about that damn treadmill in that swimming pool.
So as far as the physical part and the mental part go to like match up, like what was the first to come back? Physically you being okay, or mentally saying, all right, I can trust my foot?
It's physically being okay. Mentally, he's not going to be mentally okay with it until he get hit and pass for the first time. I didn't know I was okay until that first day of training camp when I was able to plant my foot and actually hit somebody and have like that sudden impact of me pressing up against my foot and having like some type of pressure come up against it after that first play. It was all hell broke loose then. But as far as like the physical aspect of it, I actually shaved time off my 40 and everything because your body naturally. So I tore my Liz Frank on my right side, on my right foot. So my right leg was constantly trying to catch up with my left leg. So I became a faster player, more explosive and everything. Like my body changed completely from that injury.
How do you remember feeling? You just mentioned it, but like just physically getting on the practice field, like how did you feel on August 1st when y'all went out there to get ready for Oregon?
Oh man, it was like a first day of school out there. I went out there to practice. Jack was wanting to put a green jersey on, Mr. No Contact. I was like, look, if I'm going to be out there, I'm going to be out there all the way, and I'm going to be out there full speed. Like, because I'm going to hit somebody. They may not hit me, but somebody get hit. So it's like you got to dive head first into it and see where you at because you put the work in as far as, like, rehabbing and getting back to a point to where you need to be, and you just got to go out there and trust your mind and your body.
So, look, I know you're not a doctor, and every injury is different, every position's different, and we're talking about 15 years of difference in terms of medicine and all that, and it's a quarterback who's not going to get hit at practice. But you feel like, based on your experience, that you have confidence Sam Levitt in early August should be able to go out there and practice with LSU?
Oh, most definitely. He will be out there day one practicing with LSU, especially the fact that he's a quarterback. I mean, you got to think, Hunt, I'm a defensive back. My first movement is backwards. Like, everything I do is with planting and change of direction and hitting people. Like, he can step back, work on throwing mechanics and everything, get timing down with receivers. I would just have him just sitting in the pocket. Like, we know he can run. He can run. Like, that's not going to be an issue. That will always be there. It will never be him. But as far as, like, being a better pocket passer and awareness as far as pocket presence, I would have a full, complete practice where you're not allowed to run as a quarterback. You have to stay in the pocket and make a throw or read or throw it away or check down. And I think that's the kind of mentality and mindset that they're going to try to work with him that first week coming back in the spring ball. And I think he's going to be a better player because of this.
We got 2 minutes left. LSU had a really aggressive go in the portal. Secondary's pretty much holdovers. You got DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland, Tamarcus Cooley, Deshaun Spears. Like, Corey Raymond and Jake Olson kind of had their guys. How do you feel about the secondary as far as LSU stands right now? They're kind of just bringing everybody back.
I think we don't miss a beat in the secondary. I think that's just – the secondary is a lot at LSU. I just think that that's going to be – it's back to a place to where the turnover is going to be like – it's not you're not going to blink an eye as far as a turnover, like as far as players coming in, players coming out, leaving, and everything like that. Like, it's plug and play back there in that backfield as long as you keep Corey Raymond back there. And I think those guys are going to be ready to play. And you got so many snaps back there that's been played as far as, like, the veterans and even the guys that came back that are backups. Like, that just shows that the maturity level in that room, and that's what you need on that back end because that's your most exposed end on the defense because that's where you get your touchdown scored on you.
BT, we appreciate a little bit of time. We'll catch up in spring ball, all right?
All right, Hunt, be good.
It's my guy BT, my partner in crime, the LSU Sports Radio Network. And that's pretty encouraging. Now, keep in mind, every Liz Frank is different. There are different degrees of it, all that kind of stuff. But for BT to heard it a little bit later than Sam Levitt did and to be out there running a little bit February, March, and be a full go for fall, that's what you got to hope. And so that's what we hope for Sam Levitt as well. But I didn't know that he had that list. I know he got a foot injury. I didn't know that was it. So I wanted to get his thoughts on that. We're going to pause for Sports Center, get you some national headlines, come back, talk about more LSU football when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC. FabryChevrolet.com, of course, is the website. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. I want to invite you to come on out and see him. New ownership at that location. You know the Fabry family. They've been in business 35 years, 3 different locations, 5 different brands. Now so proud to have Chevrolet and GMC under their umbrella. So if you're looking for a Tahoe or a Silverado, maybe looking for a Suburban, they've got them online. You can see them on the lot as well. Check them out at FabryChevrolet.com. Maybe on the GMC side, you want a Denali, maybe a Yukon. Get yourself in some new wheels for the new year. They are thrilled to help you out with that at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You know you're going to get unbelievable customer service. You're going to have a pleasant buying experience, and you're going to have great service after the sale, whether you're in the market for a new vehicle, whether you're in the market for a pre-owned vehicle. Check out my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville or online. It's FabryChevrolet.com.